Whether it's a loss of a loved one, loss of a friendship, or loss of a relationship, nothing in life prepares you for grief. I just kind of wanted to talk about what I've been going through lately and how I'm on my emotional journey to basically heal and just become more at peace. As humans, we have this preconceived notion that some things will last forever. Whether you feel like you'll find your best friend in elementary school and you guys will remain friends all throughout your school years, go off to college, and just have this fairy tale friendship. Even finding a boyfriend at a very young age and feeling like you will be with them forever. I am here to tell you that at some point in life, people change, situations change, and growth can definitely pull you apart from people that you care about. Within the last 2 years, I have experienced 3 major losses in my life. 1, the death of my sister. 2, the loss of a friendship that I had for 22 years. And 3, the love of my life, we separated. And so it has been a lot trying to navigate the grief of not only loss because of death, but loss because of life. Like, you move on from people and it's a lot to deal with. And once you find that the rug has been pulled from underneath you, you're trying to find your balance in life, and solitude is becoming your new normal. Opening up to people and learning to trust again just doesn't seem within my new norm. If you've ever been in those situations, then you know that it is not easy getting over someone. Now, while I can't tell you how to navigate through death because it is such a touchy subject, everybody experiences grief in a different way and everybody heals differently, I can tell you when it comes to friendships and relationships, you have to put yourself first. You have to look at the situation as a whole. And most of the times, the signs are already there. You just have to separate fact from emotion and just realize that maybe, just maybe, there's a reason why things didn't work out the way that you wanted them to. I had been in this relationship for a very long time, like over 10 plus years, put it like that. And I think the very first loss or grief that I ever experienced was dealing with my biological father, and just him not being around and the disappointment of that being the very first man in my life to ever disappoint me. I developed this characteristic of I need to fix things. And once you become a fixer, it is such a heavy burden to bear because you are always trying to fix situations that you may not have broken. I was always trying to save this specific person and just realizing that they were never going to change. They told me that they were never going to change, that that's just how I am. And when you start accepting that's just how I am, then you don't value yourself as much. Most of the people who get hurt are beautiful people. They're very giving people. And while no one deserves to be hurt, those are typically the people who get it the worst. If you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you are growing as a person, but the person that you're with is not growing, a lot of things can start to happen. You can either become that fixer and try to mold them into the person that you want to mold them in. But if that person does not want to change, it doesn't matter how many times you try, that person is just never going to change. They have to want to do it. You can't want to do it more for them than they want to. You can accept people for how they are, because you have to weigh your gripes and complaints with the situation. In a sense, it's kind of like choosing your battles. So if, say for instance, you live with your boyfriend and he didn't want to put the toilet seat down all the time, is that something that you can complain about? Absolutely. If it bothers you, I feel like you should be able to have open communication with your significant other and there not be a cause for an argument. Because sometimes bringing things to the surface that are bothering you is a way of healing you, and it's also helping to fix the relationship, and it shows that, you know, you are trying. And if that person listens to you and say, hey, I'm going to work on this, then you know that that is somebody that you can move forward with in life and have a healthy relationship by just talking. But if every time that you try to bring up something and that person is very argumentative or they're very defensive, if they're listening to respond versus understand, then that person's maturity level is just not there. You have to wonder, like, especially if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, is this somebody that I can rely on emotionally in the future? Because, you know, as minimal as leaving a toilet seat up is, it can turn into eventually resentment for that person if they're not willing to change, or if they're even not willing to listen to what you have to say. And when you're thinking about future relationship issues, you have to wonder, can you rely on this person emotionally? Is this person, once you are down and out and you can only give 30%? Some people feel relationships are 50-50. And the reality is, some days you can only bring 30% to the table. And if you guys are equally yoked, that person is going to have to pick up the slack and pretty much give you the other either 20% or 70%, whatever it is going to make y'all whole as a unit. And if you are always expressing how you feel to somebody and they just are very dismissive of things, and that's something to think about. Like, a lot of people don't think future, they think right now. Like, oh, this person might be helping me pay the bills, and this person might be, you know, doing XYZ right now. And those things are all well, fine and good. But when you start getting into being with someone for 2 years, 3 years, or even longer down the road, then it's like, both of you guys are either getting super comfortable where you're at and there's no growth in a relationship, or that person is just going to be so comfortable to where they're going to constantly feel, well, I'm not going to change because that's just how I am, because you have allowed them to feel like they can just basically operate at that frequency. And it's kind of like, why are you complaining about it now? So realistically, with relationships, you definitely have to set the standards in the beginning and show people how to treat you, because then you will end up kind of where I'm at. And I'm giving all these examples of things, but honestly, I never set the tone. I just was comfortable where I was at with this person emotionally. And then it was a makeup to break up to makeup to break up. And I constantly felt like I had to fix things all the time. And now I am at that point where I just don't have, life is so short and I just don't have much more time to spend and waste. And for somebody that's not emotionally mature, somebody that has no intention of changing. And the crazy thing is, because with people like that, you end up breaking up and you move on, and then that person turns around and they get with somebody else and they treat the next person the way that you wanted them to behave and treat you. And it's the damnedest thing, but that is the cycle of life. But in every aspect of love and relationships, you have to put yourself first, because again, there's always going to be signs there. There's always going to be that woman's intuition, or I don't know how it is for men if they have like intuition of things, but there's always going to be that womanly intuition that is going to tell you at the pit of your stomach when something is not right, something is not benefiting you, and you might need to leave. And a lot of times we always lead with our heart because women are very emotional. We're emotional creatures. We love love. We love the idea of love. And sometimes that is our downfall because we get infatuated with the idea of being in love versus analyzing the situation and just looking at it and saying, is this really love? Is this really benefiting me? And that is the hardest thing when you really, really love somebody and you see you see the potential. And I think that's why a lot of women stay, because we see the potential of what it could be. But if that person is not putting in the effort, it doesn't matter what you see. It doesn't matter what you think. It's just not going to happen. They have to want to. That saying, if they want to, they will, it'll happen. Men are naturally born chasers. They are alpha males. Yes, we like to be wine and dine, but a man who really, really likes you is going to bring you flowers. They're going to plan dates. They're going to just basically treat you like a princess because they want to impress you. And I saw this a couple years ago, and I was just, my mind was so blown by this. There was a woman who was married, and it was Valentine's Day, and she wanted her husband to pick her up something for Valentine's Day. She just basically told him, I want flowers, I want candies, I want to be wine and dine romance. And he was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We ain't been doing that. So why should I do that now? And she was just like, because I want it. And he was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. But then, you know, he had to pass several places that sold flowers or sold candy or what have you. And it was just like, could you imagine? Could you imagine how she felt? Could you imagine, like, any woman with a sound mind is going to be like, I'm not ever putting up with no shit like that. But are you though? Are you at the beginning stages of something like that by staying with somebody who refuses to change? And I think I saw a lot of that in myself, and I was like, I just genuinely don't want that for me. I don't want to be that woman that lives in a house with a man and don't like him. Like, who wants to be in a relationship like that? And like I said, it's hard because when you break up with somebody and you know that this is the final time and you start grieving that relationship, it is a very deep pain. You honestly start to get the ick from that person, because it's like, I can't believe that I allowed you to treat me that way. And then you have to start looking at yourself, because it's like, okay, girl, what the hell was wrong with you that you let that man walk all over you and not spoil you? And it doesn't even have to be monetary. It's just emotionally spoil you, like telling you you're pretty, holding your hand, making time. If a man is only coming to your house at nighttime to hang out, watch TV, and then hit it and quit it, that is not a boyfriend. And that's just, if any of this resonates with something that you are currently dealing with when it comes to a man and you are not married, reevaluate that relationship or start having those conversations and just find out like where this situation is headed. Because again, like I said, grieving a relationship, you're grieving the time that you spent with that person, the time that you invested in that person, all of the wishing and the hoping that they would change and eventually just one day just become Prince Charming. It's a very hurtful feeling, because if you think about all the time that you lost that you could have given to someone else, it sucks. It really truly sucks. And so I'm currently on my healing journey, and the last conversation that I had with the guy that I talked to, I don't want to have resentment towards you. But he just basically told me that's how he was, and he had no intention on changing, and maybe he needed therapy. But the reality is, it is not my responsibility to heal him. So in my next relationship or journey to find someone, I want someone that is already healed, someone that knows how to communicate, someone that just basically has their shit together emotionally. And of course, like, you may or may not be spiritual, but I think when somebody places God at the head of their household, then a lot of other things will be in line, like whether specifically mentally, because then they have like a good conscience of how they're treating you, because they're going to treat you how they treat themselves. If they love and value themselves and they actually genuinely care for you, they're not going to want to disappoint you or hurt you or have any distance in between the both of you. And so that is the type of person that I am looking for. And so, like I said, grieving relationships can definitely, it can be hard because you're dealing with a major loss. This is somebody that you cared for, and this is a relationship that you nurtured in hopes that one day it will just basically align with your soul and your purpose. And again, if it's not serving you, then it's better to move on and grieve than to stay in a situation and just basically deteriorate mentally, spiritually, physically. It's a lot. So I hope that if anybody out there is watching this video and they have dealt with anything similar, I wish, of course, nothing but the best for you. And I hope that you put yourself first. And yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, it will hurt at first. It's a lot to deal with. You're probably gonna have nights where you cry. You'll probably burn your friends out talking about it over and over, but you will eventually get to a point where you're healed, and you'll start looking at how this person impacted your life in not so good of a way, and you'll be able to proceed and just not let somebody waste your time in your next relationship. So I hope you guys have the most amazing day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join my beautiful online family, and I will see you guys in my next video.